Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share, so let's get right into it. My name is Richard, and for the longest time, I genuinely believed I was a good husband. I've always been the type of person who gives others the benefit of the doubt. I don't like unnecessary drama. I don't go through my wife's phone, and I don't let small things get under my skin. In my mind, that's what being a good husband was all about. But looking back now, I realize I might have been too forgiving. You see, my wife, Vanessa, isn't exactly a good person. She has this tendency to test boundaries, to see how far she can push before I react. Sometimes it's minor, like spending too much money on things we don't need or staying out later than she promised. Other times, though, it feels like she's deliberately checking to see if I'll stand up for myself. And then there's Jake. I've known for years that Jake isn't just a friend. He's her ex. And no matter how much time passes, guys like him don't just stick around for no reason. They lurk in the background, pretending to be the nice guy, just waiting for the right moment. I brought it up to Vanessa more than once, told her outright that I didn't trust him. But every time, she brushed it off. You're being dramatic, Richard. You're just jealous for no reason. He's like a brother to me. I wanted to believe her. So, again and again, I let it go. I convinced myself I was just overthinking things, that maybe I was being paranoid. But trust has limits. And Vanessa was about to find out exactly where mine ended, the breaking point. One evening, we were relaxing in the living room after dinner, the way we always did. She was scrolling through her phone, casually chatting about her day, when she mentioned a weekend trip her old friends were planning. A beach house in the Bahamas. A chance to relax, catch up, and relive their college memories. On the surface, it sounded harmless. I had no problem with her spending time with friends. We always valued independence in our marriage, and I never believed in controlling her. But then, she said something that made my stomach tighten. Jake was going. The second his name left her lips, I knew this trip wasn't as innocent as she was making it seem. Something in her tone, the way she glanced at me, made it clear this wasn't just an update. It was a test. She wasn't just informing me about her plans. She was watching me, waiting to see if I'd protest, if I'd tell her not to go. That's exactly what she wanted. For years, I had warned her about Jake. I wasn't the jealous type, but I knew what I saw. Jake wasn't some harmless friend. He was a man waiting for his chance. And I refused to keep pretending otherwise. But this time, I didn't react the way she expected. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her why I didn't trust Jake. I didn't list all the times I had overlooked things in the past. I simply looked at her and said, "If you go, don't bother coming back." The moment of realization. She blinked, caught off guard. Then she laughed, shaking her head like I was being ridiculous. "God, Richard, you're so dramatic," she scoffed, rolling her eyes. And then came the usual excuses. "You're overreacting. Jake is just a friend. You really need to stop being so insecure." But I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I just met her gaze and said, "Do what you want." And this time I meant it. She thought I was bluffing, just like she always did. She had no idea that this time I was completely serious. The final straw. The morning of her trip, Vanessa moved around the house like nothing had changed. She hummed to herself while packing, carefully folding her clothes and choosing her outfits. Every so often, she glanced at her phone, probably responding to the group chat. And now and then, she stole a glance at me, waiting, expecting me to say something. But I didn't, because this time I was done. I didn't stop her. I didn't say a word. I just watched. Once she finished packing, she rolled her suitcase to the front door. Then, as if everything was perfectly normal, she walked over to me, leaned down, and placed a quick kiss on my cheek, just like she always did before leaving for a trip. "Love you," she said, her tone light, almost indifferent, as if the conversation from 2 days ago had never happened. Without the slightest hesitation, she grabbed her keys and stepped outside. I remained silent. There was no need to speak. From the window, I watched as she tossed her suitcase into the trunk of the waiting taxi, slid into the passenger seat, and disappeared down the road. The moment the car turned the corner, I got to work. The first step was securing the house. I had already made arrangements with the locksmith the day before. So within an hour, the locks were changed. No key she had in her possession would work now. The next task was dealing with her belongings. I gathered every last thing she owned, her clothes, shoes, makeup, and all the little odds and ends she had scattered throughout the house. Piece by piece, I packed them into boxes, ensuring nothing was left behind. Every single item was neatly sealed and ready to be sent to her parents' house. I didn't want to leave her any reason to return, not even for a misplaced sweater. And then, the final step, the divorce papers. That morning, I called my lawyer and told him to start the process. There was no hesitation, no second guessing. This wasn't some empty threat. I had given her a choice, and she had made hers. Vanessa had convinced herself that nothing would change. She thought she could go on this trip, laugh with her friends, spend time with Jake, and come home to a husband who would sulk for a few days, maybe stay distant for a little while, but eventually let it go. She thought she had me figured out. But this time was different. I wasn't going to be the man who let his wife walk all over him. I refused to be the husband who got disrespected and still welcomed her back like nothing had happened. I had drawn a clear line, and she had stepped right over it. Now, she was going to find out exactly what that meant. The moment of truth. The morning Vanessa returned wasn't any different from any other day for me. By then, she was nothing more than a closed chapter in my life. I had made my decision, carried out every step, and was already moving forward. As far as I knew, she was still at the beach house, enjoying her getaway, completely unaware of the consequences waiting for her at home. But then on the fourth day, 3 days earlier than planned, she showed up. I wouldn't have even known if not for the security camera. An alert popped up on my phone during lunch, and out of curiosity, I checked the live feed. There she was, standing on the front porch, bags at her feet, her hand wrapped around the doorknob. She turned it. Nothing. She tried again. And again. I watched as she stepped back, her brows furrowing in confusion. She leaned in, inspecting the lock. That's when it hit her. The locks had been changed. Fumbling, she reached for her phone. Within seconds, mine started ringing. I let it buzz a few times before answering. "Richard," she breathed, her voice already unsteady. "The door won't open." I remained calm, my voice even. "You don't live there anymore," I told her. "Your things are at your parents' house. Expect the divorce papers in a week or 2. Silence. I could hear her breathing, uneven, shaky, as she tried to process what I just said. Then her voice returned, this time desperate. "Richard, please wait. Let me just..." I ended the call before she could finish. Seconds later, my phone started buzzing again. She called once, then again, and again. Her name kept flashing across the screen, 6 times in a row. I ignored every single one. I switched my phone to do not disturb mode. I had no interest in whatever excuse she was about to fabricate. Then the flood of messages began. "Richard, please talk to me. I messed up. I'm so sorry. It's not what it looks like." I stared at my phone, watching as notification after notification piled up. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt. I just felt nothing. This was the same woman who had laughed in my face when I warned her. The same woman who kissed me goodbye, confident that I wouldn't dare follow through. And now she was pleading with me to listen. A new message popped up. "Please pick up. There's something important I need to tell you." I didn't move. Instead, I checked the camera feed. Vanessa was pacing on the porch, her face flushed, hands trembling. She looked completely unraveled, running frantic fingers through her hair as she tried to make sense of how things had spiraled so fast. She was crying now, yelling at the door, begging me to answer. Then, after a long pause, the messages stopped. Instead, a voice note appeared. For a moment, I hesitated. Then, curiosity got the better of me, and I hit play. Her voice came through, shattered, barely holding together. She wasn't just upset. She was terrified. "Richard, please." Please listen to me." Her breath hitched between frantic sobs. "You were right about Jake. I should have listened to you. I swear, I never expected this to happen." Her voice cracked. She gasped for air. "I drank too much," and when I woke up, she broke down completely, her words barely coherent. "Jake did something. He recorded it. He's blackmailing me." I sat there motionless as she confessed. "I'm telling you now because I don't want you to find out from someone else. Please, Richard, I don't know what to do. I need you. I swear I didn't mean for this to happen." She was desperate, clinging to the hope that because she had been wronged, I would step in, that I would save her, clean up the mess she had made, and take her back. I listened to the entire message in silence. Then, with steady hands, I typed out one final reply, the last words I would ever say to her. "Enjoy your life, Vanessa. You made your choice. Now live with it." And with that, I blocked her. I never looked back. Not once did I check in to see how she was doing. Not once did I wonder if she was okay. I had spent enough time giving her the benefit of the doubt, only for her to throw it away every single time. She made her choice. Now, she had to live with it. The aftermath. From what I heard, her life fell apart fast. Her parents weren't pleased. They didn't know every detail, but they knew enough. They knew she had walked away from a good marriage, ignored my warning, and returned home to find she no longer had a home. Her mother tried to be understanding. Her father? Furious. He had always respected me, saw me as a stable, reliable man who took care of his daughter. Now, that same daughter was living under his roof because she had nowhere else to go. Her friends weren't much better. A few tried reaching out, sending me messages, making weak attempts to defend her. "Richard, she's really sorry. You don't have to throw everything away over one mistake. At least hear her out." I ignored every single one. I didn't owe them an explanation. They weren't the ones who had to live with her betrayal. I was, and I had made my decision. And then there was Jake, the man she had risked everything for. The moment he realized things had gone south, he did what cowards do. He vanished. He might have thought he was untouchable. But once Vanessa started telling people how he recorded her without consent, the game changed. He knew damn well that blackmail was a criminal offense. And just like that, he disappeared. The man she had thrown her marriage away for wouldn't even return her calls. So there she was, alone, humiliated, drowning in regret. Meanwhile, I moved on. I focused on myself, my career, my future. I refused to waste a single second wondering if she missed me or if she finally realized how badly she had messed up. But deep down, I already knew. The endless messages she kept sending said it all. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some choices come with consequences you can't escape. She thought I was bluffing. She thought I was making an empty threat. She was wrong. And that, folks, is how my wife learned the hard way that when you push someone too far, sometimes there's no way back. Let me know in the comments. Would you have done the same?